These are the 10 best toys to have on any sailboat for unlimited fun. Some of the stuff on this list costs thousands of dollars. Others cost less than your lunch money. But each is guaranteed to make sailing life that much more fun for you and anyone else who sails along with you. And if you're interested in picking up any of these toys I feature in this video, check the link in the description below. All right, let's dive on in. So starting us off at number 10 is playing cards, specifically waterproof playing cards. Now, don't underestimate them just because they're cheap. Playing cards have been a staple for sailors who need a little bit of entertainment since, well, the dawn of time, and they came out, whatever year that was. Let me know in the comments below. But really though, these are great on a boat even still nowadays because it gives you a chance to bond with everybody who's on the boat with you. Let you have some competitive games together, see who's really on the edge and who's really doesn't know how to play the game. And for those card games, I've got 10 listed for you here. The most famous of all is poker. You may know it as a good betting game, and maybe instead of betting money, you'll bet who has to scrub the bottom of the boat. That would be a good game for that. Second up, we've got bridge. There's rummy, including gin rummy and Indian rummy. There's also solitaire, hearts, spades, blackjack, crazy eights, go fish, and my personal favorite, spit. Bit of a kid's game, but a lot of fun. So number 10, playing cards. These ones are specifically waterproof, so you can play them out on the swim platform, maybe play them on the beach. When you're done, just give them a good wash and you're good to go. A deck of waterproof playing cards like this will run you about $6 or $7. Number 10, playing cards. Number 9 is an underwater torpedo. These things are so much fun. It's basically just a little hunk of pure rubber. It's got 4 fins stabilized back here, but you'd be really surprised how far you can just throw this thing underwater. There's so many fun games you can invent and play and make when you have this. One of my favorite is a little bit of a diving race game. Somebody throws it in, or either person can throw it in, especially if you throw it like this, kind of tomahawk it, and it'll land in one direction or another and it'll just zip in that way. It's really fun to see who can get to it first, or if you're just gonna pass it back and forth, it's really fun. I know there's some people that do an actual like underwater rugby with these. It's kind of the imagination's the limit with this. Just passing it back and forth is a ton of fun, seeing how far your throw can go, and the deeper water you play in gets a little bit more interesting. I really don't recommend using one of these in murky water. You won't see it coming until bap, or worse yet, you'll lose it. Yeah, they've got a lot of ideas, and also as well, you can scan the QR code on this to get more ideas to play, but it really is the mind's the limit. Obviously, this thing is great with kids, but I would say for adults too, it's excellent. It's gonna help improve your breath hold, it's gonna make you a better swimmer, you're gonna be out in the ocean more, and when you're anchored in a beautiful place, you have all this beautiful, crisp, clean Bahamas water around you, there's nothing better than getting in there and just doing some fun little activity like this. It's easy on your joints, it's good for your breath hold, like I said, just a ton of fun. Something like this runs about $40 online, and you can also get smaller ones that would be a lot of fun to throw all in at once and see where they go and see if you could collect them all at once. So I think it's one of those fun things that whatever you decide to do with it, you can make it fun that way. Old school toy, you know? All right, we're past the super cheap toys. Now we're getting into the bigger and better ones. This one might kind of surprise you, but for number 8, I'm gonna say it's the dinghy, and here's why. So you need a dinghy anyway, but there's a ton of fun you can have with it. So I'm thinking things like you just have a rope out the back and you could be Skurfing. That's how it's known when you go surfing behind a boat and you're holding it like a tow rope. Now, if you have a strong enough engine, you can also do wakeboarding, but I only run a 15 horsepower, but that's more than enough for me. So surfing out behind the dinghy is a ton of fun. You can go all sorts of places. I haven't gotten to yet, but I can't wait to do some tow-in surfing with the dinghy. What I have done already plenty of times is surfing with the dinghy itself. So just the dinghy by itself is so much fun. There's so much you can do on it. There's all sorts of sports. You can go race the other cruisers, other dinghies with it. That's a ton of fun. But obviously the dinghy is what actually brings you out to places so you can have fun. If you want to go to a better place to go diving, you're going to hop in the dinghy. But the dinghy itself, I think, is actually a ton of fun. I've had a lot of people on the boat that really like just going for dinghy rides. Just going to go for a little exploration around. It's super easy. You pull the cord, get the engine going, and just zip out super fast. I think my dinghy goes about 22 to 25 knots, which is pretty quick. So you can have all sorts of fun racing or just go for a scenic, slow cruise somewhere. Either way, I think a dinghy really adds a ton of fun, and there actually are some boats that don't have it, but I really recommend getting a dinghy that can plane with either yourself or multiple people. For me, I have a 15 horsepower Yamaha Enduro 2-stroke, and that does a great job. The Dinghy itself is a high field 310, which I cannot say enough good things about. Now you don't have to take my word for it, you can check the link in the description below and that'll give you a full tour of the Dinghy, the way I set up the Dinghy for all my adventures, as well as this 40 nautical mile challenge that I did where I circumnavigated all of St. Martin. And that's what I mean, a Dinghy is kind of the ultimate way to get that last little bit of adventure in once your sailboat's brought you to the remote islands. So a Dinghy is essential to go out there and have fun when you're out on the boat, you know, living the life. All right, now for number 7, we have drones. These are all the drones that I own on my boat, and yeah, it kind of seems like a lot now that I've got all out there. But first off, I'll say this. Drones are so much fun to fly. You get an aerial view that without a helicopter, you just can't get. But you've also got the camera inside that's gonna be capturing all the coolest parts. And if you add that along with maybe sailing or dinghying or any sort of other type of fun out on the ocean, it's just a cool way to get a different perspective on it, to remember it, to eventually as well, you know, go explore an area. Many times I've sent the drone way up and way ahead, found a blue hole or found something really cool and they said, oh, we gotta go there, we gotta go do that. And that's why I love drones so much. Even down to this little tiny one here, and this thing is so much fun to fly. I'll show you why. So this thing costs like 30 or 40 bucks, and this is what it does. Now mind you, I'm on a sailboat, so I don't really quite know how it knows how to stay in place. Sometimes it sort of flies with a mind of its own, and sometimes I feel like, oh, that was close, Okay, you get the idea. Learning to fly these can be a little bit challenging, but also fun. Honestly, I recommend to anybody to get one of these first before they crash them. And that's just it. Crashing this thing is fine. This thing's meant to go down. It's no worries. It even has a little camera. So it's a pretty cool perspective. But this one really is a toy. These other ones here are meant for some serious work. These all can survive and fly in winds of above 20 knots. So going down the line real quick, I'll start off with this, the B-Wine F7. Now, I recently got this drone, so I'm still testing it, still finding out all of its features. This one uses a controller that you actually put your phone into, so it's a cheaper drone because of that. You don't have this dedicated screen. These screen controllers usually cost about another like $300 to $500, and that really adds up the price tag. Now this drone's unique, and I added this to my arsenal, if you will, because this one has a low light night vision mode, and that's super cool. I haven't had, you know, the biggest need to use it yet, but you never know. Maybe some boats off on the reef, or maybe you just want to see what's going on at night. I really want to see if this can pick up bioluminescence in different bays. So there's a lot of different things I can be doing with it, but it's really cool getting to check out different drone brands and manufacturers. I've used DJI a lot. They're tried and true. Nobody can doubt that. But it's pretty cool getting to use this B-Wine F7 just to test it out and see what it can do. Next up here we have the DJI Mini 3. This one's super tiny, so it gets around and closer to airports, which is good. And then my biggest drone is the Mavic 2 Zoom. This has an optical zoom on it, so it's pretty cool what you can zoom into and zoom out of. You can get really cool shots of your anchorage, and it's just, for exploring before you go exploring, it's really hard to beat. For remembering the location you were at, it's unbeatable. I mean, if you go into a really cool anchorage, like, you want to get a photo that shows all of it, and there's no better way than just popping the drone up real quick and sending it back. Obviously losing them can be a bit of a heartbreak, like I said, and the price tag on these really does vary. So this little guy, like I said, is like, I think he's $40. The B-Wine F7 comes in at just about $500. The DJI Mini 3 comes in at I think like $400 or like $450 maybe, but then the controller was another like $300 because it's a special controller. I don't know how, but I just looked it up. The DJI Mavic 2 Zoom with the controller bundle goes for $2,300 now. I don't remember paying that much for it back when I bought it. I believe this is the only drone on the market with an optical zoom, not a digital zoom, so I think that has a lot to do with it. But either way, these are a little bit pricier, and if you fly it wrong once, it's gone. But I think that's kind of fun. I think it just adds to the moment a little bit more. So if you like flying, if you like feeling like you're a plane or a bird, this is the way to go. All right, number 6, and probably my personal favorite, would be spearfishing. Spearfishing is the art, I'm gonna say, but also the act of fishing underwater with either a pole spear, a spear gun, or a Hawaiian sling. Now, in the Bahamas, which is absolutely amazing spearfishing, you would use this, a pole spear. Now, this one comes apart in actually 3 sections, but I usually only use it with just 2, so I can get into close spaces. At just 2 sections together, it's well over 7 feet long, and then if I have the third one in there, it's 9 feet. Now this is the Headhunter Nomad pole spear, and this uses what's known as a reverse roller. Really cool. It comes from the back here, and that's how you have stretch the entire way through. This band is old, this is all old. I've gotten my money's worth. And the reason I've gotten my money's worth is I love spearfishing, probably more than anything else. A good pole spear like this is gonna cost you about $600, which might seem like a lot, but when you consider that fish goes for often $20 to $25 per pound in the Bahamas, well, let's just say I've probably speared about 1,000 pounds and eaten about 1,000 pounds of fish by now. But you can get a super cheap one for like 50 bucks or something on Amazon. I don't really recommend those for more than just lionfish, but it's just a lot of fun to be down there, and that's a great place to start from before you're ready to upgrade to something a little bit bigger, a little bit better. There's so much that makes spearfishing fun, it's hard to even know where to start. I guess first off, I'd say it's the thrill of the hunt. Spearfishing offers this thrilling and immersive hunting experience, but you're completely underwater, and no pun intended, you're directly connected with your prey. Not only that, when you do catch something, you know you're sustainably harvesting it. And that means that you're prioritizing fish that you've seen in the area that you know are abundant, and you can catch plenty of them without harming the ecosystem. As well, you have this amazing connection with nature. You're down there observing all this marine life and this natural habitat. It's a really great feeling just to be down there. And then when you do get something, you have this delicious reward. You get to enjoy all this fresh seafood, and it's probably really the best part of spearfishing, but I would say the whole process is just so much fun. Not only that, while you're spearfishing, you end up exploring all over the place. You're gonna be improving your skill of breath hold, of freediving and finning. You're gonna be getting stronger. And when you do go with other people, there's a very strong sense of camaraderie. I really enjoy that aspect of sharing a catch or working together, using teamwork to get to what you want. Anyway, spearfishing is just so much fun. It's really the reason why I got into sailing in the first place. So pack that on the boat, and I think you'll have a great time. Number 5 on this list is paddleboarding. You could do kayaking, but I really prefer paddleboarding because you stand up higher above the water. It gives you this really great scenic view over everything. It's a unique perspective, as well as being this full body workout. It gives you access to really unique areas as well because the fin is just so low in the water. Or you can take it off or even stand up at the front if you want to reduce your draft. It's very relaxing. You have a great connection with nature while you're out there. The amount of things that you see just at the surface or just below is really incredible. And it's a great social activity too if you have a few paddle boards. I've gotten into a lot of adventures with my paddle board, so it definitely ticks that criteria of being a fun way to get out. It improves your balance and your coordination as well. It just gives you that sense of achievement, like you're mastering another skill that I think is really fun. Over the years, I've used a number of paddle boards. Really, I started out mostly on inflatable paddle boards, and I think those are a really good choice if you're not sure if you really want to invest into this onto a sailboat. They fold up, they roll up, they're easy to stow away. Check the links in the description below. And this one really does a fast job. I've been noticing I've got this little watch on. Well, it's because I got a little something extra on this. Let's see, I've got this boost fin here on the back. Now, some mornings, I'm just feeling a little bit sore. I just want to go a little faster. Maybe I want to go a little bit further. This thing helps me do that. It's also really good if you have to be heading up into the wind. I mean, paddleboarding's awesome, but you really can't go to wind very much. So I like to have these on there just so I can power through it. So as you can see, this paddleboard goes through the water pretty effortlessly, but let's put on a little bit more speed. I think what makes paddleboarding great is you're just able to get out in the morning, get a little bit of exercise in, see the area, hear that one barking dog. Normally I'm just hearing birds. If I go deeper into the harbor, I might get to see some more of the local cruising community here. If I go out of the harbor, there's nobody out there, so it's a really nice little quick bit of nature. Yeah, it's just really cool too what you end up seeing when you're looking down, and I think the big difference between paddleboarding and kayaking is that you're above the water, so you end up looking down onto it and you see so many things. That's what I love about this. And unlike taking a dinghy out in the morning, I'm not gonna wake up any of the neighbors, even with this silent little e-motor on here. It's really cool too, the neighbors that are awake, having their coffee, come by, give them a wave, maybe go over, say hi, have a little chat. It's just a really cool way to get out, get moving, get active, even before you have to go to land. There's definitely a difference out of paddleboarding when there is wind and some waves and you want to get a workout in. And well, I do enjoy those kind of days. I'd probably rather be on an inflatable for that, honestly, because this thing, although it's a lot of fun when I'm going forward, it's not as much fun. It's a little more scary when you go into any waves with it. That's something else you could put into this bracket for so much fun with the paddleboard is actually surfing with them. Personally, I recommend taking off like all but one fin because the paddleboard fin's usually way too big. But if you go with just the 2 smaller outer ones, it can be a pretty fun ride. Another thing that's great about paddleboarding is it ends up working on all these little stabilizer muscles. And I can just feel some of you commenting right now, hey, he's not doing any work. But I sort of am. Just trying to stabilize and keep your core here intact is really important. Paddleboarding is also great if you've got a dog, you can put them right onto it. They seem to do really good. Oh, and a quick pro tip. If you have a big paddleboard like this that's awesome to be paddleboarding around on, it's usually really bad to actually stow up on the boat. But if you leave it in the water, it's gonna get growth like this. Ugh, kind of gross. So what I found works really good instead, just flip it over and leave it flipped over for a day. Then flip it back over, leave it flipped back over for a day, and so on and so forth. It's really easy, and that way you don't get any of this disgusting bottom growth. Ugh. The fourth best toy to have on a sailboat has to be SCUBA. SCUBA is a great way to get down there and stay down there, being able to see more underneath the water for a longer period of time. Now, as you've already seen in some of the footage with the Torpedo, myself and my crew member Dennis were both using these little SCUBA bottles, and these things are really interesting. Fully topped up, they give you about 10 minutes of oxygen down below. Now, you don't want to be taking these things down super deep as they're not really rated for deeper scuba diving, and they don't require any sort of certification. I mean, you can just buy these things off Amazon, it's great. I ended up getting 2 of these here, and this one's actually filled up all the way, and you can hear it as this thing's ready to go. They're super easy to use, and honestly, just being able to stay underneath the water is so much more fun. Myself and Dennis were down there throwing that Torpedo back and forth for the full 10 minutes, just totally messing around, as well trying to use something else that's on the list I'll talk about a little bit later. You'll find that many boats sailing actually do have scuba tanks on board. Most of them don't have a scuba tank compressor on board that takes up a lot of space, a lot of energy, and it costs a lot of money. But quite a few of them will just have the basic tank and a BC and everything else they need to go with it. I myself don't do full scuba, I just use these, but even just being underneath the water for a little bit with these things is a ton of fun. And like pretty much everything on this list, the amount of fun you have with this stuff is kind of limited just to what you can make with it and do something extra. So as you see in the footage with Dennis and myself, we've got a little underwater scooter that's actually pulling us around, as well as we're using some fins. So we're doing quite a few things at once there. Not only that, I can't wait to grab one of my dumbbells and go walking along the bottom with this. It's just really cool to see what you can do. And I mean, the longer you're down there, the more types of marine life you're gonna be seeing. So any exposure you can get to the ocean, I think is always good. Scuba is one of the more expensive hobbies out there. It can cost anywhere from $1,500 for really entry level, maybe some used gear, all the way up to $5,000 depending on the suits you want to get and everything else. Not only that, you'll have to run the tanks back to get them filled up once you're done with them. The advantage of these things is I can pump this up manually, so it only gives me 10 minutes, but there's a lot you can do in 10 minutes. Also, although it's not fun, I will say cleaning the boat with this makes it more fun, so sort of put that in there. For number 3, I'm gonna have to go with kiteboarding. Kiteboarding is, well, just so much fun. When you've got too much wind and you don't wanna go out sailing, kiteboarding is the way to go. Right here, I've got just the basics of it, which is gonna be a kite inside here, a 12 meter, the bar, which also has the lines on it. Then you've got the harness that goes onto you, and then you've got the board at your feet there. The 4 very basic items you're actually wearing while you're out there. Now, however, you're gonna need to pump it up, so the 5th item would be a pump here. All totaled here, you're looking at about $3,000. And I know that might sound like a lot, but when you consider that you'll be boosting up in the air, I mean, sometimes we're talking 30, 40 feet, and I'm not even that good. It's pretty hard to argue with a reason why not to go with this. Kiteboarding is so obviously a ton of fun, it doesn't really need much of a list, but you know what, I like to list things out, so here we go. First off, it's obviously and clearly a thrilling experience. Harnessing up the power of the wind to just ride up over the water, it's hard to beat. You feel a sense of freedom while you're out there moving and exploring over the open water. And I really enjoy the skills that you have to develop in order to do this. Getting better kite control, better board skills. I feel like I'm always learning and challenging myself in something new, or with the conditions. The surroundings are usually scenic as well, whether you're in some beautiful island key or you're in the middle of, you're off out in the ocean far out there. It's always cool to see where you end up. The aerial maneuvers you can pull while kiteboarding is just infinitely fun, although you have to pay the price if you make a mistake and you end up falling out of the sky. It keeps you really physically fit. And just the sensory experience alone, the feeling of the wind on your skin, the sound of the waves, and the rush of adrenaline, it's really hard to beat. It's this perfect escape away from any sort of normalcy or any sort of monotony of the land world. But I think what I love best about kiteboarding is that continuous learning. First learning how to ride on a twin tip, then going on to a surfboard, and I still need to learn how to do a foil board, but that'll come with time. Getting down towards the bottom here, this is number 2. It's gotta be underwater scooters. They're so much fun to go a little bit faster or sometimes all the way faster to catch up with those fish. I think this one really speaks for itself, but hey, if you want to hear the reasons why these are so much fun, let me tell you. First off, I'd say it's that speed and thrill. You're going through the water so fast, it's exhilarating, sometimes a little painful on your face if you end up going too fast, but instead of kicking and finning along, you're effortlessly exploring. With the help of this underwater scooter, you're able to explore such a larger underwater area with ease. You're able to cover more ground and discover those hidden gems just beneath the surface. Not only that, underwater scooters make it a little bit more accessible for everybody. If you don't have a lot of experience finning and freediving deep, you strap one of these on and it really helps put you on par with some people that spend a little bit more time in the water. And I think it's a great way for beginners to get a better look at diving down deeper and going further. It really helps extend your dive times because you're conserving all that energy. And then the photos and videos you're able to get are so much fun. Family and friends are all able to use it, and it just gives you this really cool, unique perspective of the ocean. You really feel like you're a fish. Now, you do have to be a little bit careful with the safety aspect. You can go down too quick, and you gotta be careful not to pop one of your ears out. But the upside is you're able to return to the surface far faster. All in all, these underwater scooters are just a novelty. They're a complete fun factor, and I mean, they say money can't buy happiness, but it does buy an underwater scooter, and I've never seen anybody frown on one of these. This particular brand that I'm using here is known as Subnado by a company called Waydo. They're really cool. Pound per pound, they're the least expensive, as well as dollar per thrust. They put out the most thrust you could want. Not only that, these will go everywhere on your body. You can attach these to your arms, both forwards and backwards, to have a ton of fun. Put them on your ankles. You can put them on your thighs, which is probably my favorite way. I even made a mount just for them. You can do this single or double underwater mount right in front of you. You can mount them on a scuba tank. And as you're gonna see here, I can mount them underneath a stand-up paddleboard, and that's so much fun. Not only that, eventually I'm gonna put enough of these together and I'm gonna power my entire sailboat, an electric sailboat. I mean, how much fun is that? It's pretty great. All right, so number 1, the absolute best toy you could have on a boat, mask, snorkel, freedive fins. You can't beat it, and here's why. Starting off with the mask that I use here, I like to have a camera up at the top that lets me film while I'm out there, and you want to make sure you have a black lip mask, that way it doesn't let any light in. With the snorkel, it's just a nice, bendy, flexible, simple tube. You don't want a bunch of complicated widgety-doos on it. And for fins, you really, if you want to go deep and you want to be efficient, you want nice, long blades. They should be really, really long. And these ones are made out of carbon fiber, so I get a lot of that energy back on the downstroke and on the upstroke. They're really great. A mask, snorkel, and freedive fins are number 1 on this list because I think it's the closest connection to nature that you can have. Although I love all the other toys on this list, a lot of them require electricity, they're kind of gizmos, and they can be pretty expensive, and just the amount of use you're gonna get out of a mask, snorkel, and freedive fins, it really is, the sky's the limit on it. So first off, I'd say you have this connection with nature that's so much stronger when you're freediving because you basically are an underwater animal. Not only that, when you're freediving down deep, it's very beautiful and tranquil and quiet down there. The marine environment seems to come alive. Scuba's a lot of fun, I really enjoy that, but the bubbles can oftentimes scare away certain fish or other sea creatures. Sometimes it will attract them as well, but I think it's so much more fun to even sneak up on something in the ocean. You have this real sense of freedom when you're down there and you're able to explore the depths, and it's just on a single breath. So you're not encumbered by any sort of bulky equipment. I feel like a fish when I put on just those 3 items right there. It's also this physical challenge of holding your breath and this mental strength that you'll need to really push through the CO2 limits of your body. You're able to do so much exploration down there. You're really mindful and relaxing while you're out there. It's that minimal gear, that personal growth, and then as well when you're getting photos and videos down there with everything, I just think that's so cool. There's a really great community built up around freediving, and you can join and meet other people, especially on boats. And that's something that's really great to be able to do, is sharing this with other people. Maybe there are people on the boat with you, or maybe people you've just met. Either way, mask, snorkel, and freedive fins are the best. The price for the setup that I'm wearing in this video costs about $80 for the mask, but that mask is specially made to have a GoPro fit on it, so you could probably get one cheaper. The snorkel, I don't recommend going any cheaper at just $19. This is gonna let you breathe at the surface a little bit easier, and that really lets you dive down deeper because you get a better breathe up that way. You keep your head down, you look down, and then once you're ready, you pull the snorkel out and you dive deep. And then the fins are an interesting one. You can get the cheaper fins for about $150, which you can see in the link in the description below, or ones like mine honestly cost like $600. I got them a long time ago though, and they've more than paid for themselves. So that's why I think freedive, mask and snorkel, as well as fins, are just the best toy to have on a boat. All right, 10 toys, but a million ways to have fun. Really, how creative you get with each one of these is just the limit to them. And that's what I love about this, is once you get these items, you don't need to pay a subscription fee or anything else. You really don't even need anybody else. You're able to have so much fun just with what's here. Go explore, go enjoy the boat, go enjoy the company that you do have. So I hope this video has given you guys some ideas of some of the fun toys and activities you can have while you're on a boat, just to get more out of the sailing life. But please be sure to check out the links in the description below. Some of the products will actually help me out if you buy them, so if you like this channel and you want to support what I'm doing, just buying that gets you one more way to have fun out there, as well as helps me on my channel. Or better yet, buy all 10 and really go ham. Either way, and lastly, I want to hear from you guys. Comment down below what toys you think go best on a sailboat. Is there something special, something I haven't thought about, something unique? Or better yet, some of my favorites are some of the cheaper, simpler ones, like number 10 playing cards. Doesn't need to be super expensive, it's really about the fun that you have with it. Well, that does it for me here, and I'll see you guys on the next adventure. Cheers. Thanks for joining me on this adventure. I hope you feel inspired to begin adventures of your own. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. For an exclusive, in-depth look at this adventure lifestyle, and to further support my channel, become a member of my Patreon crew. Link in the description. I'll see you on the next adventure.